entitled I Will Do, well, not I Will Do Anything for You, it's Anything. Yes, the song by 3T. Well, it's a beautiful moment right now, and why I say it's beautiful, it's because we talk about love at this time on the Rise 106.7. It's just 2 minutes past 2 p.m., and of course, it's welcome to Couples Corner right here on Rise 106.7, and welcome to Couples Corner on Rise 106.7, and I'm Lady G. And of course, you know what Couples Corner is all about. It's what we talk about, you know, things that have to do with married people, things that have to do with love, being together, you know, the issues affecting, marriages and how it's handled. And talks about stories of married couples and so on and so forth. Today we want to how we call it, we want to do it differently, okay, because it's Easter, so we're coming up with a special episode for you. I'm going to introduce you to someone who's been on the show before with his wife. we had a great discussion, if you remember, talking about Mike Owangwa, which is a pastor first of all, but one interesting thing about him is it's also a marriage counselor. All right, he's a writer, he's a marriage counselor, a certified and trained marriage counselor, right? So the writer of a book, If Marriage is Not Working, Work Your Marriage. If marriage is not working, work your marriage. Okay, so I said he's a certified marriage mentor and counselor from the Institute for Marriage and Family Affairs from the United States of America. Many other title attached to this pastor and this marriage counselor, Pastor Mike Wangwa. It's good to have you on the program.
Yeah, good afternoon, Chichi. Good afternoon, listeners. I'm glad to be here today.
Okay, all right. So let's go straight to the discussion for today, right? Now, a number of people, like you know how it is on radio. We get a lot of questions, different programs. So we have the forum where we ask questions, where people send in their questions and all that. And so I'm going to go straight to the point. So I compiled, I made a list of questions that a number of people who are married, we're going through a lot, would like to ask us, so we could go through, what could be the possible ways to answer these questions, okay, or possible ways to handle this issue. So I've got this one that says, I'm quick-tempered and my wife too. We are always having verbal war. There's no peace in our home. Is this not a ground for divorce before it turns to domestic violence?
Okay, the question is funny. I know you're serious and it means a lot to you, but I'm wondering, you're quick-tempered and your wife is quick-tempered as well, and you have verbal wars. And no peace in your home, and you're wondering if it's a ground for divorce. Well, there's no place I know in the Bible where they say quick-temperedness or the way you feel or the way you react to issues is ground for divorce. So I think you're already going a step ahead. You're already thinking of divorce, even when it has not reached domestic violence. It has not reached there, you're already thinking. So I think this is about you. Before you got married, you would have known whether you were quick-tempered or not. You would have known about your wife. You would have known your temperaments and all that. And of course, there's nothing that communication does not do. You are always having verbal wars. Why? Probably because one of you is not ready to step down. You see, God did not create anyone like to be a volcano, to be toxic, to be somebody that wants to explode every time. Some people they take pride in it and tell themselves, "Now so God make me, now so God create me." I always get angry. I also always get quick tempered. So if you're quick tempered, then work on yourself. Like someone was telling me yesterday, it's just like if a soldier slaps you. With your quick-temperedness, you don't retaliate or you don't slap the soldier back. You control yourself. And that's the same way it is in marriage. If you're quick-tempered, then you should be able to manage yourself. It shouldn't result in domestic violence. It's up to you. It's up to that first person that does that first slap or the first kick or whatever, So it depends on you. Verbal words you can also control your feelings, control your emotions. You're quick-tempered, but you can work on yourself.
Okay, I think although you said the question is funny, but I think it's a concern. Looking at the fact that in recent times we have this issue that's still pending anyway,
yes,
of Osinachi Nwachukwu, of whom it is alleged that it is the husband's domestic, as it's acts of violence against her that actually resulted in her death. So I guess a lot of people will be concerned. Like, nobody wants to die. Nobody wants to.
Yes.
Nobody wants to die as a result of domestic violence. So I think it's really a concern right now. Let me ask you this question. I want to throw it at you.
Okay.
Many people seem to think that because of what has happened, domestic violence should mean divorce, right? Do you agree?
I don't agree. It's just like saying because somebody choked on water, he choked trying to drink water, so water is evil. So anytime you see water, you throw water away. The thing is that I think we're missing the point. Yes, this has happened and it's a high profile situation, so everybody is talking about it. But for many years this has been going on. People have been going through domestic violence, and of course it falls on both genders. When men have been carrying it out on women, and women have been carrying it out on men. Okay, so but I don't think it's a ground for divorce. Instead, what we should be talking about is how do we resolve the issues that led to this thing in the first place? How do we make right choices even before we get married? Because like I put up a post yesterday and I was saying that some people are in relationships right now, they're not married, and they're already going through domestic violence. As in, boys are beating their girlfriends black and blue and they are still doing I love you. And you plan to get married to the person. So you're already seeing the signs even before it gets to that point of marriage. And you feel that when you get married to this person, an angel is going to come from heaven and suddenly change the other person. No. So when you see red flags, even from before you get married, then you need to begin to take note of these red flags and ask yourself basic questions. Can I go on with this thing?
I'm got to come in here. I remember we were having a conversation and we were talking about, can you really change? Can you change another person? Can you? Because a lot of people, like you mentioned, a lot of people have seen the red flags, but they're still thinking, I hope he's going to change. I believe he's going to change by the time we get married. What? Is it possible to change another?
People don't really change. Okay, I think you should rather look at worst case scenario. What if he does not change? What if she doesn't change? Can I cope with this for the rest of my life? Yeah, people might adjust, but in the generality of people really do not change. They may just change tactics, they may just adjust a little, they may just modify their ways. But if someone is a cheat before he gets married to you, I'm telling you that marriage does not automatically change his genes. That's the truth. If someone is not transformed, is not changed, then they are not transformed, they are not changed. Marriage in itself does not change people. Marriage in itself does not change people. That's why we talk about relationships. So if this person cannot change during the relationship, if he cannot adjust, if she cannot adjust during the relationship, then you need to have a rethink of whether you want to go on with this thing.
Okay, so now the program is Couples Corner, and so that means the marriage has already been done. Now you're stuck with someone you thought would change, and he's not changing. So how do you handle it?
Okay, so in this case, you need to communicate. You need to take a step back. Now you've made a mistake. Now you're into this thing, and this person is not going to change automatically. So you need to communicate more. You need to talk with the person, reason with the person. Hopefully, the other party is as enthusiastic about making it work as you are. Then both of you can sit down, talk things over. Get a mentor, get a counselor, get someone else, a neutral third party who will help you guys and walk you through it. People who have been through it before, who are ahead of you in relationships, they can advise you and talk to you and hold your hand through.
Okay, so now, okay, I'm trying not to upload this one. Okay, what about if you're married to someone who just not how do they call it? You guys don't really have compatibility. Let's talk about a compatibility issue. That's the way you see things. Maybe in the aspect of maybe you belong to the same religion, but the thinking, the level of understanding is quite different. Maybe you're married to a narcissist. Is it narcissist? That's what they call it. Yes, you're married to a narcissist who's very selfish, who's very into himself, and you are a lovable, kind, understanding person who's very exposed. And now the two of you are stuck in a house, and he doesn't want to understand because he's a narcissist. So how do you go through? How do you wade through the waters?
Okay, when you say narcissist, it depends on where you are looking at it from. So you feel the other person is narcissist, and then the other person probably thinks the same thing about you.
Okay, let's look at this one. Let's look at an example. And then you make a suggestion and you say, gentlemen, I think this is my love. I think this is how this should be handled. I think it will be good if we do this and we do that, we do that, we do that. And then the same person tells you, are you supposed to tell me what to do? How do you?
No, I say a traditional man, as a chief in his village. Okay, I think people should actually communicate. And when we talk about exchange of ideas, it's not gender specific. No gender has an upper hand. So it's not like the man has more sense than the woman, or the woman has more sense than the man.
But I think it does happen where one person is more.
Yeah, there are cases like that. But remember what I said, exchange of ideas. So if I have sense in 8 areas and you have sense in 2 areas, and I neglect those 2 areas where that your sense can save our lives, then my 8 senses, they make no meaning. They are useless. You get it? So at the end of the day, I think communication is key. Yes, you may have somebody who doesn't listen. You learn to manage the person because you're already married. You know, you're already married, so you learn to. You need to study the person more. You need to understand. Of course, you need to understand the person's background. I believe you should have done that before you got married.
So it takes a lot of patience.
It takes a lot of patience, and you need to let go of certain things. You know, overlook a lot. You can't always have things your way. That's just the truth. You can't have things your way 100% in marriage. No, it doesn't work.
Alright, so my wife does not share the bills at home even though she works. She says it is a man's responsibility to provide. How do I make her understand?
I remember one advert those days. Understand what? Alright, you know, it depends on what your agreement was before you got married. Did you talk about it before you got married? If you talked about it and she spelled it out to you at the beginning before marriage that she thinks that it is a man's responsibility and she's not bringing a dime, that means you people had already agreed to it. Then she's not breaking any rules, you know. And then, but if you didn't talk about it during before marriage, then I think that's an error, because we need to talk about these things. You know, they are very, very, very important. So now you are stuck with this situation. She doesn't want to share bills at home, even though she works. Now, did she just start working, or has she been working all along and not sharing in the bills? So it all depends. And then you want to make her understand. I don't think you can force her. First, both of you need to understand that you're working as a team. Okay, some men don't mind. They take care of everything in the home. In fact, they feel it's an insult for a woman to even bring money and, you know, contribute to the home. Some men feel so. But in the light of the economic situation, okay, a lot of people contribute. The woman brings some money, the man brings money, and then they put things together to make things move forward. I think the woman also needs to be realistic. Both of you talk things over. Don't force her to understand. It's not like it's mandatory that she understands. You need to reason with her based on your own peculiar situation, and let's see how you move on from there.
Alright, you're listening to Couples Corner, right? 106.7. Yes, today we're doing something different, like I mentioned, and we have a guest in the studio who is answering some of your questions. You sent in some questions, and I'm taking a look at them right now. We're taking a look at them right now, and to give you possible answers. So if you also want to send in your questions, all you have to do is to send it on to 070566 51067 07056651067. Remember, it's for couples only. All right, if you're married and maybe you want to ask 1 or 2 questions, and our marriage counselor just stop by today, being Easter, to share with me this podium, and so we can talk about some look at some issues and some of your questions for us today on the program. 07056651067, and that's the number to send your question to right now on the program, Couples Corner. And we're moving on now. This question, I'm curious. I really want to know the answer to this question. Like, what your perspective is, not necessarily the answer, but what your perspective is. A lady says, my husband puts his children ahead of me, and it hurts me. I have told him it's wrong, but he doesn't listen, and it's putting a strain on our relationship. My husband puts his children ahead of me, and it hurts me. I told him it's wrong, but he doesn't listen, and it's putting a strain on our relationship.
Okay, very interesting. Very, very interesting question. Life is all about perspective. But he puts his children ahead of you. How? It depends on how you see things, but I think I have an idea of what you're saying. A friend shared with me his own experience that his wife said when he comes home from work, the child runs to him, and then she's coming also to greet him. The man picks up the child and hugs the child first, before coming to the wife. Sometimes doesn't even greet the wife after just picking up the child and all that, and she feels bad. It made her feel bad all the time he was doing that. And she told him, and he said no, he didn't mean any harm. So sometimes, maybe what you feel, when you feel the man is putting his children ahead of you, it may not really be like that. They are small, and he feels that maybe you can manage, and then the kids are small, so they might get hurt and all that. But for me, I had to be intentional when I heard about this thing. When my kids run, of course, they always run ahead of your wife now to come and jump on you. You hug them and all that. But then you also go and hug your wife to make her feel part of the whole thing so that she's not left out. Okay, so I think communication is key. If you feel that he's putting them ahead of you and neglecting you, let him know. Let him know in a nice way. And also for men, I think we need to begin to pay more attention to our wives and how they feel. Sometimes we look at them like, hey, they'll always be there, so you don't really pay attention to their emotions. So when you come back home, you say, have my children eaten? That's the one that's even more annoying. Have my children eaten? As if you went to one factory and produced them by yourself. Have my children eaten? Both of you had these kids, for goodness sake. So you always seem to be more concerned about the kids. You're not even asking her if she has eaten. You're not even asking her if she's fine. Did they go to school today and all that? You didn't ask her how her day was. These things make women feel bad, feel like they are unloved, feel like they are unappreciated. And then for men and women, you need to understand that. I'll make this statement and I'll explain. Children are a distraction. So just take that in. Children are a distraction. I'll explain to you. I discovered that people after being married for like 25 years, 20, 30 years, they suddenly get divorced. And you're wondering, this marriage should have been stronger and sweeter at this stage. But then they get divorced. And you're wondering why. Because children have distracted them. And if you're not careful, children will distract you. I keep telling my children, your mother was here before you. So she's my first baby before you. And they've come to understand. They always laugh at us. But they've come to accept it. Because when these kids leave home, now the man is, according to her, is paying a lot of attention to the kids. And the same thing, women do that too and neglect their husbands. By the time these children now leave home, the children who are the distraction in quotes now, by the time they leave home, you are stuck with a complete stranger. You are stuck with that man. That thing you've been running away from, you are going to face it. And then you begin to face it when you're like 50 years old, when you're like 60 years old. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be like living in hell, because you're now trying to start learning the person all over again. The kids are not there. So we need to pay particular attention. And as much as we are loving the children, husbands and wives, pay particular attention to your relationship. Give time to each other, speak to each other, listen to each other, love each other, care for each other, and things will be fine.
Wow, things will be fine. I hope it's that. I wish it were that easy.
You work on it. You will work. Oh. You will work.
It has to, right? Because the two people have decided to be in the union. So I remember she wrote, they said, if your marriage is not working, you work the marriage, right?
Yes.
I believe I'm correct.
Yes.
Okay, all right. If you're listening, it's Rise 106.7, and we're still talking. Okay, it's all about you, all about your questions, all about what you're asking of. You want to reply. That's what we're giving you right now on the program Couples Corner. So you want to send in your questions? It's 0705665 541 and that's the number to send your message to, and we'll definitely take your question as soon as we see it. Okay, so I have Pastor Michael Mangwa today in the studio, and next is this question. My husband is not a communicative type. We can be in the house together and we won't discuss. I yearn to have my husband as my bestie. What do I do?
You know, some people don't really talk. Some people don't talk. Some people, and it's for different reasons. Some others also might depend on their mood. Okay, so when you say it's not communicative, I don't think it's like he doesn't talk at all. He talks, you know. So it's just to find out what interests him. So maybe the things you are talking about, he doesn't care about them. Maybe you are talking movies, you are talking Bollywood and all those stuff, and probably doesn't appreciate them. Maybe that same your husband, when he stays with his friends and they're discussing football, he'll be shouting and screaming, you know, or talking politics.
That reminds me, someone was talking, the person said, as a woman, you don't know your husband's best club, you don't know his best player, you don't know anything about football, so you don't the things he likes to talk about, you don't even know anything about it. So how do you now have a conversation?
Yeah, so that's the way it is. So when you say somebody is not communicative, I think it depends on the topic of discussion. For instance, there are topics you might bring, I may not just be interested and not want to talk about them. Okay, but when you bring in something he appreciates, then fine. And then you also need to accept that maybe study their mood. Sometimes people just want to be on their own and all that. But find the things that he's interested in. So maybe when he's watching football and he's supporting one club, maybe Man U, you used to go and bring your Man U shirt, sit down with him and be watching, you know. Just be talking.
Instead of being angry.
You don't know the players.
Like football too much.
But just make sure you don't annoy him and be saying which side is playing, who is scoring. Don't ask all those stupid questions, you know. Just flow with him. But seriously, talk with him. Find out those things he enjoys talking about. And then, of course, it takes time. You need to be patient. You can't force it on people. Okay, and I think with time, you can find out. You can discuss it with him and say, this is how I feel. You don't talk. What are the issues? What would you like us to talk about? Are there things you want me to do? And then, you know, anything can work as long as you communicate.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that answer. So let's look at this question. Okay, I think I saw one question coming in now. Okay. All right. So let's take this question first. It says, my husband says I am invading his personal space. That I don't give him enough alone time. But I think he isn't spending enough time with the children and me. How do we resolve this?
Okay, in my book, If Your Marriage Is Not Working, Work Your Marriage, I devoted a chapter to this. And the title of that chapter is, Can You Give Me Some Space? You know, I found it to be very interesting because when I brought up the topic before the book, on social media, there were lots of engagements, and I saw that this issue of personal space was a big problem. You know, some people want their space and they feel like the other partner is encroaching on their space. Now, we need to understand this. You're married and you become one. It doesn't mean that the other person loses their individuality. So it doesn't mean that I used to like football, then because I got married to you, I will suddenly stop liking football. It doesn't mean you now control me to change and start doing things exactly the way you want them. No, that's not what it means. we are respecting our individuality, but we are coming together as a team to work towards a common purpose. So people want their personal space, and that's why people don't want you touching their phones. That's why people want you taking permission before you do certain things. Sometimes people don't just want to talk. Years ago, I had this cousin I was staying with. And then when she comes back from work, she was working the bank. So when she comes back from work, she would just go into her room. I mean, what I wanted her to come so that we talk, we chat, we discuss and all that. But this woman will not just talk with me. She just go and sleep. And then at a point, I raised it up with her. And I said, what's the issue? You don't talk to me and all. She said, see, when I come back from work, I'm tired. And all I want to do is just rest and sleep. I didn't understand. Years later, I started working. And then I had this person staying with me in the house. When I come back home, you might even be smiling. See, all I want to do, I'm not interested in any conversation. All I'm interested in doing is just going to sleep. I don't want to talk with you. Don't tell me anything. Don't ask me anything and all that. Yeah, so sometimes these things might be circumstantial. The person might be tired and he might just want his space. Okay, so you need to understand when it's in that mood, both for men and women. There are times women also want their space. And in my book, I share the story of a lady who, she said she was beginning to feel uneasy at home. She was feeling tense. Things were going wrong. Everything was okay. The man was a nice man, but she wasn't just happy. And she decided to take some time out and hang around with her friends. Girls hang out. The husband was even in support. They went out on a date night, stayed till like 11. He was up watching the kids and all that. When she came back, she was rejuvenated. So people want their space. People want to do the things that they love doing. So don't choke the other person because you are married. You want to be with them 24/7. Where are you going? You follow him. I want to go and buy bread. You follow him. Waiting. You cool down now. You understand? You're married to him or you're married to her, but it doesn't mean that you should choke them. Allow them some space. Allow them their individuality. Allow them to have their friends. Allow them to, pursue their interests. Because if you keep tagging along them the way you do, they are going to feel choked. And they are going to begin to give you bad energy in the marriage. Yeah, so you feel he feels you don't give him enough alone time.
Yes.
And then you feel that he isn't spending enough time with the children. Yeah, if you feel he's not spending enough time, then talk to him about it. Suggest to him. Some men they don't just know how to go out. As in, somebody like me, I can just be on my own at home. But suggest to me, let's go to so and so place. Fine. So you can take him out, tell him that you think it would be nice to take the children out, and you go around, and gradually I think he will loosen up. But please don't force him. Don't press him. Don't choke him, because the more you keep insisting on that personal space thing, the man is going to react negatively.
Like, some would disagree with you with what you mentioned about the phone.
Yeah.
Some would say that since the both of you are transparent with each other, there shouldn't be any need to keep your phones away from each other.
Yeah.
Like, you should be able to take your husband's phone and go through it, while the other one should be able to take the wife's phone and go through it. So
no, it's okay. I appreciate your comment and your view, but I'm telling you what is real. We are living in a world. You are saying what is ideal, okay? But I'm telling you that I did a research on social media and people responded, and I tell you that like 60% of them said, let her keep her phone, let me keep my phone. I mean, this is an issue.
Why is that?
Between couples. Yeah, fine. It's subject to whatever it is. Some said this is how they were brought up, that she can't access my phone without my permission. I'm saying that if you don't have anything to hide, there's nothing wrong. Like, for me, we don't do passwords at home in the house. My wife has access to my phone. My children have access to my phone. So if there's anything I don't want anybody to see, then it shouldn't get to my phone in the first place. Then it should prompt me so that I don't have secrets. There should be nothing to hide. You understand? So I'm transparent, but I'm telling you that a lot of people, it's an issue for them, and you can't force them. This is the way they are. This is the way they want. Both of them have agreed. The man and the woman have agreed that this relationship, I beg you, keep your phone, I keep my phone. I don't want to even see your phone, and please don't see my phone. Fine. So if that's what they've agreed and it's working for them, you can't force them. You can't legislate this thing. You can only say this is the ideal thing, But I'm telling you that there are lots of people who have placed an embargo on this phone thing and it's working for them. So we are not going to tip them over. Okay, but for me, I feel transparency is key. I don't keep passwords in the house. My wife doesn't keep passwords. My children don't. Everybody has access to everybody's phone. But most times I don't even have the time to say I want to start surfing through her phone or checking anything. I mean, there's no point.
All right, so you're listening to Rise 106.7 and the program it's Couples Corner. We'll take a little break and we'll be back in a minute. Stay tuned. Couples Corner, we're talking serious issues about relationship, about marriage specifically because it's Couples Corner. And this is where you have to be if you are married. If you want to listen to people's advice and to listen to people's story, it's always good to stop at Couples Corner. And of course, you'll learn something new, something edifying, something lifting, something encouraging, and something motivational as usual on the program. And today we're doing a special Easter edition. I actually asked the relationship counselor to stop by today, and so he can answer some of your questions with regard to marriage. And of course, the number is 07056651067. We're getting almost close to the end of the show, but if you do send your questions, I will probably take it. So make sure you send it right away on 07056651067. But we continue, of course, with the questions I already have that you sent to me previously. So I'm going to someone asked this question, Pastor Michael Angwa,
Okay.
and someone asked a question about how we're talking about boundaries now, and the person is talking about having separate bedrooms, and she's saying it's I think it's the best to have separate bedrooms. At least you'll be able to have time to yourself. You'll be able to have alone time instead of having, staying in the same bedroom. You're able to manage your space, personal space, and, what do you think?
I'm not one of those people who feel that things are just one way. I think in marriage and in the course of counseling and listening to people, there are people who have even said what the Bible has not said. So sometimes people shove opinions down our throats as if it is God's word, but not necessarily so. But I still think people should do what works for them. Now, the reason why it is advised that you should have the same bedroom is so that you can be together. Okay, so let's say you've had issues during the day and then you're together at night. It's easier to resolve issues. When a man and a woman are sleeping on the same bed, this one turns this way, this one turns the other way. Your heart might even prick you more, to talk to the person, make up things and all that. The Bible says, don't let the sun go down on your anger. So if you're in that situation, before you sleep, you resolve your issues. But then they feel also, people who support that view feel that if the man and the woman are in different bedrooms and they have an issue, they could end up not even talking to each other for the next 1 month or 6 months. There are people like that who live in big houses. The man is in one corner, one room somewhere, the woman is somewhere, and they have issues and you're not talking with each other. So that's why we encourage that. Have the same bedroom. However, it is not a law. It is not a law. So this woman has brought up the issue of personal space, right? Fine. As far as you found out other ways to make sure that you don't lose touch with your relationship, as far as you found out that you don't lose communication with your husband, because if in the pursuit of personal space you lose your husband or you lose your relationship, then you haven't achieved much. You haven't achieved anything. So yeah, fine. If you want to have your own bedroom and the man wants to have his own bedroom, I don't have a problem with it. But the important thing is communication. It's not like your marriage would automatically succeed if you are sleeping together in one room. There's no law. There's no law. We have people sleeping together in one room whose marriages have failed. We have people who sleep in different rooms whose marriages have succeeded. So it's not a function of whether you are sleeping together in the same bed and all that. But we just encourage that for uniformity. It's easier for you to discuss ideas. Maybe something drops in your mind in the middle of the night. You can talk with the person. You can pray with the person. It's not like you're now running upstairs. Maybe his room is upstairs or her room is upstairs to, talk about things that happened to you. Maybe you had a nightmare, or maybe somebody has a health crisis, a challenge maybe an attack in the middle of the night, asthmatic attack or some other form of attack, meanwhile you've locked yourself in that big room and you're alone, so that's why we talk about these things. Then the other person can easily notice the issues and help you resolve. Yeah, so it's no law, but please do what works for you, but make sure that your relationship with your spouse is sound. It shouldn't be an excuse to run away from working on that marriage.
Okay. All right. So we got one from you, dear listener. You said, "My name is Miracle, and I married a woman I don't know. We are not compatible. We are not compatible." That's all he said.
Okay. All right.
That's all he said.
I understand. When you say not compatible, it's broad. It leaves us.
He said he's married a woman he doesn't know.
Okay, we're just assuming, because when you say you didn't know, is it that you didn't talk to her? Is it that you didn't say, "Hey, fine girl, I love you, I like you"?
I think it's probably the person that he eventually ended up with is different from
exactly. I understand.
the way she presented.
So probably didn't take time to really understand each other. Like, fine, it happens. Okay, but I still think that you can work on each other. She might also be thinking she doesn't know you, so both of you might need to give in time to communicate. Rather than complain. I watched this clip where two people went for counseling and they were complaining about each other, and the counselor said, "Please just think of 2 or 3 things that you like about the person," and then they started. So it starts from there. Start communicating. Look at positive things that you guys can do together. Talk about it, because knowing somebody comes through communication. If you don't make effort to talk to her or learn about her, you can't know the person really. You can't know what is in the person except you make effort to communicate. So please try to talk with her. Try to learn more about her. Nobody is really bad. That's one thing I've come to discover. Everybody has a reason for doing what they do. It might either be their family background, it might either be past experiences. But when you're able to press through to people and reach their inner core, you will see that they are such lovely beings. It's just that maybe their bad displays are just ways for them to defend themselves or trying to survive. Okay, so please try to talk with her, try to communicate with her. I don't think all hope is lost. When people say incompatible, it can mean anything. It can mean anything from this thing will not work to I'm not making enough effort. It might just be that I'm already eyeing one girl somewhere, and then the best thing I can tell myself is I'm incompatible with my wife. Okay, have you really made effort? Have you made effort to know her? I think you should work on this thing.
Wow. We could go. Okay, I don't have message. Let's see. Let me see. All right. Okay, I think someone was trying to call. Let's see. Someone was trying to call. I just told me I missed the call. Alright, so I think that's all we can take. I want to thank Pastor Mike Wangwa, relationship counselor, writer, and much more. Thank you for stopping by today on the program.
Alright, so I think if there are other questions, of course they can still send them to you, maybe offline. You can send them to my page, Mike Owangwa on Facebook, and then we can deal with them. Or Lady Chi, your page, you believe, so you can send to LAYDICHEE. Okay, follow the page and then drop your question there. We'll attend to it. Or Mike Owangwa, MIKEO, then Wangwa is NWANGWA. Follow the page and then drop your question, and then we'll deal with it.
Or you can, of course, send your text message right here, 07566 51067. All right, so you can send it, and we'll take a look at it. Thank you so much for being with us today, and hopefully next week we're going to be back again.
Thanks for having me. Thank you so much, and happy Easter, everybody.